Some people think they can outsmart me. Maybe. Maybe. I've yet to meet one that can outsmart a bullet.
Challenge accepted!
How yinz doing? I'm Ian, and this is my TF2 How to Killstreak series, where we look at the best and worst weapons this game has to offer and show you how to get a killstreak with them, because everything's a bad idea until it works. Today we will be covering the Fists of Steel, so without further ado, let's get into it. Like always, we will cover the weapon's stats and how to get it before we cover how to get a killstreak proper. We shall start with the downsides, since that is a much longer list than the pros. The biggest downside of this weapon is that you take 100% more damage from melee attacks whilst this weapon is deployed, making this unquestionably the worst weapon the heavy has for medieval mode. This weapon also holsters slower, meaning it takes longer to switch from it to a different weapon. This can be offset by switching to the weapon you don't intend to use, then switching to the weapon you intend to use. For example, if you want to switch to your minigun, you're best off switching to your secondary, then switching to your minigun to minimize the holster penalty as much as possible. With practice, you can easily shave off half a second to your weapon switching with this technique, which, whilst not negating the negative, helps irrefutably. The last two drawbacks are a 40% reduction to overheal and healing from healers. However, these last two negatives can actually be beneficial to you in certain circumstances, since a medic's uber buildup is based on your current health, not how much the medic is healing you by. If you're familiar about how the quick fix can build uber charge much faster due to its inability to give players full overheal, you understand how this can actually be a situational bonus. As a result, I consider these last two negatives to be double-edged swords, rather than purely negative traits. With all these downsides, you're probably wondering why you should use this weapon in the first place, and the answer is honestly quite simple. It's singular upside. That's right, this thing only has one beneficial trait attached to it whatsoever, and it's pretty good. Whilst you have this weapon pulled out, you receive 40% less damage from everything that isn't a melee attack. This made the Fists of Steel a go-to when dealing with sniper bots when they started flooding the servers. This is because when combined with the Delocus bar's increased maximum health potential, you could easily charge at a sniper from flank routes and just fist them to death. And while actual players would be smart enough to switch to their melee and kill you rather quickly, bots were never this intelligent. At least not until a few weeks before Valve finally patched them out. If you want this weapon for yourself, it can be crafted using one reclaimed metal and the killer gloves of boxing. However, I recommend either trading or waiting for a random drop in order to acquire it. With the basics now covered, let's move on to how to get a killstreak proper with this thing. As you've probably already deduced, this weapon is not intended to be used for getting kills directly, but rather sustaining yourself throughout the game. After all, the Fist of Steel are the heavy's only real option for dealing with snipers without needing to rely on map geometry, something that on more open maps like Harvest will always be against you. Just remember to switch off these weapons once you're in optimal range for your minigun, since a smart sniper will switch to their melee in order to get an easy kill on you. However, switching to this weapon can actually be a quite useful bait, since players will more than likely end up switching to their own melee to get that sweet juicy bonus damage against you, assuming they know how this item works. Where then you can then switch to your minigun of choice and mow them down at point blank. And remember, while your minigun does do more damage than your fists, it takes time to rev up. This means that it's sometimes better just to throw a punch at your opposition than to try to switch weapons, especially if you use the Brass Beast. And always remember, kids, some ideas are so stupid they actually go full circle. Going for melee kills in a teamfight? Yeah, that's probably pretty stupid on the slowest character in the game, but you have 40% damage reduction from everything except melee, and the enemy team is distracted by your team and not going to bother switching to do that. And yes, that is a pretty risky flank. In fact, it's so risky that the enemy team didn't think anyone would actually take it and left it wide open for you to exploit. However, the most common approach you'll see with this weapon is either to have players use it as a way of ensuring they get to the front line safely without being shot down by a sniper, or to make a quick retreat while everyone in the enemy team is shooting at them. As for those of you wondering what weapons work well with this weapon, the better question is, what weapons don't? This is because the Fists of Steel share a slot with the Gloves of Running Urgently, or meta melee weapon. Since unlike most of Heavy's melees, you can actually have this supplement your playstyle rather than be forced to play around it. After all, this is Heavy's only real answer to the issue of, oh god, there's a sniper and I have no cover. Interestingly, this weapon is a dead giveaway that the player using it is usually a Heavy main. You see, most Heavy mains will end up being used to the movement speed of the Heavy, and will have no need for the Gloves of Running Urgently in order to get to the front lines. Meanwhile, people who don't main Heavy but wish to play them will find his base movement speed unforgivable and will use the Gloves of Running Urgently to offset this. Meanwhile, players who use any of the Heavy's other weapons usually fall in one of two camps. Scenario 1, a player that just unlocked the item and is just trying to see what it does. Or Scenario 2, an experienced player just messing around trying to have fun. Either way, they are unlikely to help you or your team in any meaningful capacity beyond the occasional sandwich or random kill. On the subject of giving players sandwiches, this is actually a great weapon for those of you who wish to go friendly and play the hoovy. After all, players tend to shoot first, ask questions later. And the Fist of Steel damage reduction means that when they shoot you and then realize, oh crap, this is a friendly, hey, can I have sandwich? You're more likely to actually be able to give them a sandwich rather than just be dead at that point. All in all, I give the Fists of Steel an amazing utility out of 10. If you're comfortable with the Heavy's base movement speed, and find yourself getting jumped by non-melee characters such as snipers or scouts, this is a great weapon to consider for using as the Heavy. Whilst this weapon won't be getting you kills itself, it'll be setting you up for getting great kill streaks with your other weapons. That's all for now. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one. I've been Ian, and this has been my TF2 How to Killstreak guide to the Fists of Steel. For those of you not in the know, I actually decide what I cover next in my videos based on community tab polls. When I was originally recording audio for this video, the current winner for the last poll was the Fat Scout. However, the next day when I realized I forgot to get a screenshot for editing in the video and came back to it, it was now a draw between the Fat Scout and the stock revolver. Normally, I would just wait for the tie to sort itself out and make an announcement on the channel somewhere. However, I don't want to delay this video by an entire day just so I can have a screenshot for a single thing at the end. So instead, I'll be deciding based on a singular comment one of yinz left behind on one of the previous polls. So congratulations, my dear viewer, your comment broke a stalemate. In honor of your victory, we shall unbox a war paint case and use the paint inside on the revolver for the next video. Pat yourself on the back because I can't do it for you. Trust me, I'm trying. I don't care what comes out of this. Whether it's a cancer item or a strange unusual, we're using it on a revolver. Oh, hey, it's strange. Nice. Let's see, revolver. Yeah. Say what you want about me, but when I say I'm going to do something, I do it.